Hey everybody, Tag from Life Done Free. Hey, this is video 2 of the Joe Salatin visit, and this is specifically at the school. This is after Joel spoke to the students, and then we went and walked the land, and then we went to a restaurant to sit down and have a private conversation about the actual logistics, about how in the world would we go about actually growing all of our own food to feed the school. And so Joel does a great job of breaking down the logistics, how many chickens, how many this, how many that, how the systems would work together. I want to just take a quick moment to thank the administrators and the superintendent from Jackson Heights High School. I'm telling you, these guys are engaged. They don't know the way. We don't know the way. But at the end of the day, they're open to opening their mind and thinking outside the box and really trying to do what's best for our kids. I applaud this in every measurable way. As I mentioned in the first video, I don't know where this all goes. I don't know what we can actually do, what we can't do, but I can guarantee you this, we're going to get up and swing. Also, Joel is also committed to this endeavor. Since this time, I've had other schools already contact me asking for information. But this is a very important video. This is probably my favorite part of Joel's visit with the school, although there will be more videos to come. So if you're interested in the actual logistics of what it would take for a school to grow their own food, come on, let's check it out.
Okay, yesterday I got the information for how many meals a day, how many kids, this sort of thing. So I'm just going to share with you some of my assumptions so that you can see where right now there's actually like 1,280 meals a day. And so just to make it simple and round, I assume 1,500 meals a day, assuming that you continue to grow and everybody loves the school and you continue to do your wonderful leadership.
They gotta work.
So, at 1,500 meals a day, times 5 days a week, I'm assuming you do 5 days a week.
Yes.
That's 7,500 meals a week, which is half of them are breakfast and half of them are lunch. Okay? So that's 3,750 meals, 3,750 breakfasts, 3,750 lunches a week.
Probably breakfast isn't quite as much because some kids don't have breakfast. But
These are assumptions. We have one hard numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could be off by 20%.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is horrible. Mainly what I'm trying to do is go through a process of how I built an end goal, and then once you have an end goal, then you come back and you back up to the strategy steps to get to that goal. But if you don't start with the end, Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective start with the end in view, right? So this was my end. Here's the end. We got to feed. We got to do this, and I'm assuming 34 weeks a year. I might be wrong on that. Is it 34 weeks?
36.
36.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm off. All right, fair enough.
1,500s.
But not all 5 days a week. It probably
No.
happens out.
It would probably average out because we have 4 9-week quarters, some 4 days, some are holidays, so
Yeah.
you're probably really close.
All right. So those were my assumptions. And then 34 weeks a year. All right, so let's look at eggs. All right, so eggs, if we say everybody's going to eat 1 egg for breakfast, that's 3,750 breakfasts divided by 12 eggs in a dozen means 312 dozen. Now, the chickens don't take Saturday and Sunday off. You're using eggs 5 days a week. The chickens are going to lay 7 days a week. So I divide that by 7 days a week to find out how many eggs we have to get every single day to give everybody an egg. Comes out to 45 dozen per day. Now I multiply that back by the 12 eggs in a dozen, means I need to get 540 eggs per day. Yeah, 540 eggs per day. I don't need. Assume that layers are going to lay 50%. Now they ought to lay better than that, but hey, I'm a farmer. You figure conservative. Anything over is cream, okay? And so better to be surprised happily than disappointed unhappily. So I'm figuring a 50% lay, and so that means I've got to take the 540 eggs times half, double that, to get how many hens do I need? How many hens do I need to produce this number of eggs to have that many eggs per week? Comes out to 1,080 hens, which is almost exactly what we run in one Millennium feather net. If we give those hens a 1/4 acre every 4 days, that requires about 5 to 6 acres of land that you're gonna move them around on to get that many eggs. Well, in the winter, it's too cold to have them outside. So in the winter, you're gonna have a hoop house, and at 3 square feet per bird, that's a 3,100 square foot hoop house. So we actually have 3 hoop houses that are 30 by 120, which is 3,600 square feet, which is plenty big. And so there's your winter, there's your summer, and the chickens eat all the kitchen scraps. So everything, all the scraps come out of the kitchen, the chickens eat. And so that's the eggs. Oh yeah, you supplement them with grain. You give them a TMR, a free choice total mixed ration, all they want. The beauty of chicken, the beauty of animals is they don't watch TV. So nobody is advertising to tell them to eat corn. So they're very happy to eat leftover potatoes and green beans and whatever comes. Yeah, whatever comes out of the kitchen. That's right. And they will always, I mean, they will tend to eat that because it's fun. It's fun in different form. You know, they like different stuff just like we do. So that's doable. That's doable. Coming over here in the van, somebody asked, well, did you figure the labor? I didn't figure the labor for all this, but you know, a feather net you can figure is going to take one person to, you know, keep it up. Is going to take one person something on the order of an hour a day. And there will be some days when it's less because you don't have to move it. There are other days when it's a little more because you have to move it. So it's going to fluctuate anywhere from, you know, 3/4 to an hour and a half a day. Just figure 7 hours a week. All right. So you could actually keep another tick down here at 7 hours per week, and you add up each of these at labor, and you find out, well, does this take 2 people, 3 people? You know, what does it take? And of course, that's not assuming students do anything. Students, there's no reason why the students couldn't feed them. They could, and this is assuming, of course, that you don't have to haul water to them. I'm assuming efficient setups here, and we can talk about designing efficient setups, but you know, there's no reason why the students can't gather eggs, all those kinds of things. And we even talked about a possible summer scholarship program where there would be some students who actually got credit for, you know.
Well, we have students now where, of course, like just a teaching assistant for a class where they might be the janitorial services or be the mechanic guy.
Okay.
They actually get an hour credit for school, but
Cool.
not
Yeah.
not your typical classroom.
But it's not an academic. It's not an
That might be
academic
something that
setting.
could be like an ag credit or something.
Kids would line up if they gotta go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sterling College does that right now in Vermont. They have because school's in session in not when the vegetables are being produced. So they actually have 10 or 12 scholarships where students come and get basically a semester of credit for spending the summer, and they grow it, they can it, they freeze dry it, they preserve it, so when all the students come back in the fall, they've got their larder full of food. So yeah, all right. This is what I could bring to the table here, just to give you a can do. Yeah, we can do this. All right, broilers, chickens. One of the reasons I start with chickens, because they're small. They're the most child-friendly of everything. Nobody's gonna get run over or hurt by a chicken. I mean, they might.
Cows do a lot of damage.
They like,
I'll tell you
the
what's
little
near
kids like to whimper and whine.
Yeah, they might get you know, pecked at, but they're not going to get crushed in a corral. Okay, by chicken. And the other thing is that chickens are so utilitarian, especially layers, to be able to eat all the kitchen scrap. I mean, that's amazing. Now you don't have to go to the landfill. You don't have to take anything away. I mean, it's just a major positive. Oh, that's me. Nobody ever calls me.
Spam. got a flip phone, I love it. That's so my husband tracks.
See my flip phone, everybody see my flip phone? Yeah, I'm still.
My husband left his at security, and they actually said, did whoever left their flip phone, and everybody laughed, like an outburst of laughter.
Yeah.
It's actually fun.
You know what's cool? You know what's cool about this? So people say, well, how do you survive? You travel all over the world. How do you do? All right. So this thing, this quickly. Whoops, hit the wrong button. Going too fast. Trying to.
You're trying to figure out how to take a picture. That's the best.
No. I was trying to impress everybody, and that's what happens when you try to impress. Okay, so now I have a mobile hotspot turned on. Okay, so then you can pull your laptop out, and you're right on the internet
From your flip phone.
from your flip phone. But the beauty of that is, for me, the beauty is it's just enough hard to access. I'm not watching my phone all the time. And I honestly, I'm such an information geek that I don't trust myself. I'm afraid if I get a smartphone, I'm gonna be a different person. And I just don't want it. And I don't want something that listens to me. So if we have a discussion about
I'm so curious what my feed's gonna be now after I got a phone in my pocket. It's gonna have all kinds of weird homestead stuff.
Automatic chicken feeder.
we talk about, yeah, right. Tomorrow's gonna have ads on. Yeah, I don't want something to listen to me all the time. All right. All right, we got eggs. All right, broilers. So, if we assume that we're going to feed chicken for lunch, and I assume three days a week. Chicken 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Just a little warm up.
Big grasshoppers in Kansas. Okay, so if we serve chicken 3 times a week, that is 750 lunches times 3, 2,250 times 34 weeks, 76,000 meals at, I'm assuming, a quarter pound per serving. And I know some of the little kids won't eat that much, some of the big kids will eat more. But usually when it's somewhere, quarter pound, McDonald's quarter pounder, I mean, that's what it was built on. And so quarter pound is standard. And so now I'm gonna take that times the quarter pound, which means we need almost 20,000 pounds of chicken a year. And there's gonna be about 3 pounds of edible meat off a chicken. You take the guts out, the feathers off, you take the bones out, and what you actually have to eat is about 3 pounds on about a 4.5 pound bird. So that means we've got to raise 6,375 chickens. All right. If we run 8 batches per year, that's 800 chickens per batch, and we're going to have 1 batch in a brooder, 2 batches in the field, which requires 24 shelters to run the 2 batches in the field. The brooder is a 12 by 20, which that's not very big. 12 by 20 is plenty of room to brood them, and so you add up the 24 shelters times 40 days apiece is 960 spots, times 4 rotations of that is 3,840 spots, times 120 square feet per spot, 460,800 square feet, which is 10.7 acres. So 10.7 acres, you raise all your broilers. Now, that can be raised on the same land that the egg layers were raised on. Okay, you just stagger it, all right? Same thing. And you talk about growing grass. You'll grow grass like nobody around here has ever seen, believe me.
Kind of like health risk, or do we, and there's no, if we're growing something and then we're immediately feeding it to the kids, so there's not any kind of, I don't know, regulation, or then they gotta inspect you and they gotta make sure you blah, 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 and what's the temperature of your egg, and you don't.
That is up to your health department.
Okay.
And that is very, very political. So if you have a community behind this, you can basically, I think, hold your health department inspector hostage. And what are they going to do? Stop a school food initiative? I mean, think about the negative PR of that. I mean, that's like, you don't win that argument, all right? And so yes, that can be, if you have a tyrannical, health inspector, they can sabotage everything. And I've been places where they have, and I've been places where this is great, I want to work with you, and they're all for it. It so much of this is subjective. It's very subjective. It's a mind game thing. All right, now we go to beef. I already concluded there's no way you can run cow-calf. So I'm giving him all the credit for that. I think it's a breakthrough on the beef, is you just either buy or have farmers donate culled cows, because you're not gonna serve T-bone steaks here. Okay, so all you need is ground beef, meatloaf, burgers, lasagna, spaghetti. All right. Yeah. So we're doing all beef ground. So you take the whole animal, you debone it, and you grind it up. Okay, and the beauty of culled cows is that you only need to keep them 4 months, detox, fatten them up, and so you can run 2 rotations a season in 8 months and not have any hay, no winter feeding, no barn, no nothing, and all you're doing is an 8-month spring, summer, fall production system. That decomplicates the cows a lot. Now there's no barn, there's no hay, there's no winter feeding, there's no nothing. I realize, winter's when you want the work to be done, but let's work with the grass, okay? Work with the grass and reduce the capital, the capital infrastructure. So if we do that, let's assume 2 meals that have beef in them every week, lunch only. That's 1,500 times a quarter pound per serving, times 34 weeks, blah, blah, blah. You come on down, and I'm assuming 300 pounds per carcass, which might be a little bit light, but again, it's better to be conservative than over. In other words, you take the guts out, you take the hide off, you take the head off, and you take all the bones out, and you're left with 300 pounds of actual edible product, okay? Which leaves me with 42 and a half animals. So I'm multiplying that. If we keep each 120 days, that's 5,100 cow days of forage we need. And if last night I was told we had 40 acres to work with. Well, 40 acres to work with divided by 5,100 total cow days comes out to 127 cow days per acre, which is easily here, you should be able to hit. So for everybody that's uninitiated, a cow will eat in a day. So every vocation needs a measurement, all right? So, an electrician, it's voltage, wattage, and amps. A banker, it's dollars. Carpenter, it's inches. Orchardist, it's bushels. And so for cows, it's how many cow equivalents can you get per acre? How many days of feed of cow equivalent? So obviously, a young calf is not a cow equivalent. So if you have a bunch of 200-pound calves, they're 1/5 of a cow. So 5 200-pound calves is equivalent to a cow. All right. So everything comes to this equivalent. This is how we measure production. So in this area, you should easily be able to push up there toward 300, 350 cow days per acre. We've gone as high as 400 cow days per acre. Okay. And our county average is 80, just so you know what kind of extra production you can get. If you guys actually accomplish this in your fields, you would be the talk of the state. People would come here from all over the state just to look at your fields and see what you're doing, and it'll blow their minds that you're actually, because we actually gross in $25,000 an acre on pasture. Ain't anybody doing that with corn. Nobody's doing that with soybeans. But the reason we do it is because of this very tight management and this stacking of enterprise. Remember, the cows are going to graze the same ground as the eggs and the broilers. The eggs and broilers are going to lay down nitrogen, manure, that's going to grow more grass. Okay, so this whole thing is non-competitive. It's completely synergistic, complementary. Okay?
Fertilizers,
And
right?
you're not-
Our
and you're
chickens
not-
are what's
you're not-
fertilizing our grass.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The chickens are eating bugs, ants, grasshoppers, crickets. What was this thing that attracts the grass?
Armyworms.
Yeah, and they're eating. They're even eating on our farm. We literally. Did you ever get a tick
When we ventured a little ways off of your farm.
off the farm? Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
on farm.
if you go anywhere off our farm, you get ticks. On our farm, there are no ticks. I mean, there are, but the
chickens run.
chickens literally they just eat the ticks. So in your cross country track, all these things. I mean, people are really paranoid about ticks today. They really are. So there are a lot of messaging threads here that you can present beyond just food. You know, hey, you know, we're gonna de-tick our place. I mean, people would like that. You know, people would like that. So you got the cows. All right. Pork. I mean, if you're gonna serve breakfast and eggs, you got to have sausage or bacon or something. So the pork is problematic because they're so destructive. You turn one pig on 100 acres, and in 5 minutes he's going to dig a hole, and that's problematic for nice fields. So we run our pigs on edge ground, edge marginal land. A lot of it's in the woods, silvopastures, things like that. But all of your woods areas are riparian. That's the way you've generally put it together, and so I don't want to run pigs in a riparian area. They're going to denude it, tear it up. I think you could run cows through those areas once or twice a year, and they would actually not hurt anything. If you run them through, again, we move this stuff every day. So the cows are only in, if you ran 20 cows through some of those woodsy areas, they're in there for a day, the most 2 out. And they would actually enhance some of that understory. Just, in other words, you burn it. Well, instead of burning it, we're going to graze it. So the pigs are problematic from that perspective. So I would encourage in this situation, a large hoop house, not a greenhouse in this case. It would be a translucent. It would be a canvas hoop house, a covering from Farm Tech or something.
Concrete short walls, like one of those with the concrete walls and
No, we just put boards,
Okay.
boards as a wall up, so your hoops go in the ground,
Right.
boards, so you can have deep
Right,
bedding,
so the pigs don't walk out. the
deep
side.
bedding, and then we put a hog panel up, so that when the bedding is deep like this, the pigs aren't against the plastic.
Right.
So the cattle panel's on the inside, all right, and you can also run chickens in there too in the winter. With the sawmill, we make tables, so you have mezzanine floors, and you can put those in. They're 8x4s. The chickens can be up here, pigs can be underneath, and all the fragile chicken stuff can be up on the floor, and the pigs, and then you're using cubic footage of a hoop house and doubling your income on the hoop house because you're using vertical space instead of just linear space. Anyway, this comes out, go through all the 212 hogs, which you can run 2 cycles if you buy weaner pigs, weanling pigs. These aren't pigs. Weanling pigs at 8 to 10 weeks. You'll keep them for 6 months, so you can run 2 batches a year, which would mean at any one time you'd have 106. You've done 2 batches of 106, and at 30 feet living space per hog, that's 3,180 square feet. So we're back to the 30 by 120 hoop house, which is a really good standard. It's a really easy size to work with. And the bedding can be junk hay, straw, wood chips, ground corn cobs, any kind of carbonaceous material that you can find. And so that, and believe me, this does not stink. I can hear the pushback. Oh man, no. If you're getting smell, you're not putting enough carbon in. The smell is the ammonia vaporization because it's not molecularly bonding to the NOH3, the ammonia that is a gas at ambient temperature. And what you're smelling is the ammonia coming off. So believe me, this does not smell, and this makes really, really happy pigs.
And that material is gonna be so useful other places.
Oh my. So then we come to the garden, which then this gives you cope mountains of compost that you can use for, all right, so I did potatoes. If we figure a 1/4 pound per meal and 3,750 meals, all right, for lunch only, comes out to 31,805 pounds a year. If you plant them on 12-inch spacings, assuming 3 pounds of production per plant, which I think is fairly conservative, that's 10,625 plants, which will take 10,625 square feet, which is about a 1/4 acre. I was surprised at that.
Yeah.
That just really surprised me. Tomato situation, a 1/4 acre. Okay, now the problem with tomatoes is summer, and they're hard keepers.
Right.
The beauty of potatoes is you take them down in the root cellar, and you keep potatoes. I didn't do squash, but obviously butternut squash, acorn squash, any of the fall squashes would be fine for winter. Summer squash would be a summer issue, but I know how much tomatoes are used, and so maybe you do a canning program, maybe you do a fruit leather program. I mean, there's any number. I mean, if you have hoop houses in the summer that isn't being used, you can this for the chickens that's not being used. You can go in there with trays up above, and you can lay out all and make fruit leather. I mean, you guys are creative. You can come up with it. I'm just giving you the production because I'm the farmer. Okay, apples. All right, apples. Imagine 3,750 meals, 1/4 pound a serving. I mean, I'm just kind of this 1/4 pound a serving. We can up it down or whatever, but comes out to 640 bushels. And I'm assuming 10 bushels per tree comes up 64 trees on a 400 square foot center. Takes 2/3 of an acre. That literally could be done along fence lines, all the edges, the boundary down there where the neighbor has the great big pond. That could be a row of apple trees along there. Edible landscaping. I mean, edible landscaping is a big deal. And so it doesn't take any more land to grow an apple tree than an ornamental and it becomes a beautification thing. So that was all I figured, but I was so excited that this seemingly crazy idea, can we actually feed ourselves? It's doable. You got enough land. You've got plenty of capacity. It's absolutely doable. So, questions come. I've been doing a lot of talking here. I'm glad to entertain, but these are.
I don't know if it's been asked already, but I think something would be helpful to the board. I only imagine this because I sit on board, and I'm off at one bite at a time.
That's right.
How do you get the first step taken? Like what? In what process? Because dumping all of that at one moment, it's like,
I have to say my head's exploding here.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So I guess my question would be, how could we start small?
The first piece.
And another thing that really concerns me is the manpower to make this happen, which I love the idea of involving students, but you're gonna have to have an adult in charge of it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So that worries me. And then I also think about, this is wonderful that this, like, you not only, you made the chickens, but I grew up on a farm, and you gotta boil the chicken, get all the feathers off that chicken, you gotta gut that chicken. I think it takes the level that it would require of our lunch staff exponentially up, because they're preparing food from scratch, which is wonderful, and I wanna get there, but these are the things that it feels a little overwhelming, so.
Sure, I totally get it, which is why I start with the eggs.
Yeah.
I think that's the easiest. There's no processing really. I mean, it's a whole food. There are no pieces, and there's no fences.
So that quantum thing, that's the mobile one I saw. It moves around.
Yeah.
How much one of those costs?
Well, if you build it like we do, you can get it done for under $2,000. If you build it like some I've seen, you can go to Taj Mahal and as far as you want to go. But we.
But you build it, it's not like something you order.
No.
I saw those, and you told me about it.
Well, Joel has a book, Poly-Based Design.
Broad-based designs. It has the blueprints for for all this stuff in it, exactly the way.
For every animal structure.
For all of these things, exactly the way we make them. And we are, you know, we're not independently wealthy, we're bootstrapped. I mean, we, you know, you start from, you do it.
At no cost to you guys.
What about storage? Like, we need freezer capacity, I mean, some of that'd be, we don't even have a proper freezer for the food that comes, that's why you get trucks twice a day, cause we just don't really have a spot for it.
When we service institutional accounts, like schools, colleges, from our farm, that is the single biggest impediment, is they've got $1 million stadiums and football fields, and they won't spend $2,000 on a cooler. Big enough so that a local farmer, we can't afford to drive, I mean, we ran into this with Washington Lee University in Lexington. You know, we can't afford to drive there 5 days a week with little itsy bitsy pieces from the farm. The reason it works for Cisco is because Cisco is taking toilet paper, lamb,
Hands,
you know,
Yeah,
squash, yeah,
plates.
at a time. And so, and they're running this route, you know, and so, so yes, sometimes, like, you know, with these eggs, it's very possible that it would take a little walk-in cooler, you know, with a, you know, they make a little, what's it called, bot?
Cool bot.
Cool bot, yeah,
Wait,
thank you.
Chris.
Where you basically take an air conditioner and you turn it into a refrigerator. And again, making it from scratch, you know, there's enough talent here that somebody could actually put one of these together from defunct pizza parlors and all, I mean, all sorts of things. There's all sorts of stuff that you can get that's not expensive.
You got lots of cool storage downstairs.
And then,
Videos you said about your eggs, why you don't have to clean them. And you had a system where once you take them out, you put the roosting bar up, so then the
That's right.
chicken can no longer
That's
get
right.
in there to dirty up the
Yeah,
eggs and
that's
leave
right.
their calling card, as you called it.
yeah.
And so if we had a process and a system, then those eggs, do they need to be refrigerated once we collect them?
Because
No,
in my
not-
house, we don't
We
refrigerate.
don't
but I don't
refrigerate.
know
Yeah,
that's-
you don't need to drink. Now, but here's where you get into health department.
Right.
I can
Yes.
tell you that if they don't go directly from the field into a refrigerator, health department's gonna tell you they're inedible. I mean, that's just,
Could you waiver out of that just by like having the parents sign a waiver to say like we're supportive of the food program and just get out of it?
the problem with that is
The inspections are all USDA, and you're changing,
One
and
salmonella.
you're changing mindsets too, because
Okay.
like as he said, we don't know what we're afraid of, people just do what they're told. And even though they know they have permission from the school to do the right thing for the kids, they still haven't granted inspections, they haven't surprise inspections, and they don't wanna get in trouble.
Okay.
So I mean, it doesn't mean there's not a way around it.
we tried that in Virginia, and the Attorney General said that at the end of the day, waivers don't work at all, they don't hold water, because nobody can waive away their rights. And so at the end of the day, people, the
Sign
mentality of people, yeah, sure, you know, people just sign stuff, and they haven't really read it, they don't understand the ramifications, and suddenly, now they're over their heads, and so, my view is, pick your battles, this is not a battle you wanna fight. Get a little cool bot, make a little room, and you'll make everybody happy. That's not one to fight.
We could get in trouble just as quickly when we do our block party, because we're feeding everybody for free, and I'm cooking burgers on a grill. Like, that could just as likely be where someone got sick because I didn't cook it correctly. So we have a
Well,
community that
that's not a
probably-
legal issue, because you're giving it away. You can give all this away. So you can give away anything. Where it becomes hazardous is when you exchange money. Now, I don't know what it is about exchanging money that makes it hazardous, but that's the truth. You can give all this away, but you can't sell it. So, and of course here, you're in a school setting with a health department, with a commercial kitchen standard that you have to pick your battles there. So, yeah, you shouldn't have to clean more than 10% of the eggs. That's simple. And this could literally be run, you know, in in an hour a day. And if you had students helping, it could be pretty simple. I mean, and as you know, any of this stuff could be incorporated into a curriculum. I mean, measure the feed, efficiency, my goodness, turn them into how much feed are they eating when the temperature averages 50 degrees versus how much feed are they eating when the temperature averages 70 degrees. Go up and down and fluctuate based on ambient temperature. They've got to maintain body heat. I mean, there's a million cool little things that you could incorporate this into science, math, besides obviously nutrition.
Well, I'm thinking we did this last week for the kids going into high school, and I thought, wouldn't it be neat if we took it from a data perspective? And now we're keeping data on our kids eating healthy, the input and
Right.
the output.
Right.
And we could start to
That's
really
gonna be a
directly.
we have to have a whole, I mean, CRB type thing going on with that. We couldn't do that without no permission.
Well, I was
like
just
the
thinking
idea
like a
that-
health, like
But
a
yeah,
health
it'd be,
class,
it'd be
like
very,
understanding
it'd be a
that.
very interesting study.
Because we were talking about the rat study where you actually had a funding in high school where you guys had the 2 rats. And
There's 75 degree, yeah. Yeah. But it was an explanation of what processing does.
Right.
When
All
it-
that heating destroys the vitamins.
Yeah, when it goes to the processing, it gets into trouble. So, yeah, I mean, to me, the eggs are the easy one. That's the really easy one. And you can use eggs in a lot of ways. I mean, yeah, I mean, you can make deviled eggs, pickled eggs.
Well, they make a
scrambled eggs.
cookie for the kids once a week, and I feel like they could be used in the cookie baking. I mean, if we could just eliminate our egg cost,
Yeah.
you know, that's a huge one. How many dozen do we use in a year? Carrie would know that
Yeah.
question.
Well, I'm convinced that if you fed all your kitchen scraps to the chickens, you'd cut your feed bill to the by,
Well, and our trash bill.
and your trash bill. You cut both of those. I mean, that's a big deal.
And we've got $10,000 a year for football rights. We gotta be cognizant of where we're putting our eggs and trash money.
Oh, don't even start, don't
We
even
love our
start
football
down that
games.
path. Yeah. Back when I was asked to come,
I don't know exactly. I'm just saying, we
I'm
spend
just
a lot of
saying,
money on our
I know
electricity
that,
for
I
our
know the
football
light bill's
leagues.
expensive, I just,
Yeah,
I don't know how Derek got that number.
yeah,
But no, it's very expensive.
yeah.
yeah, I remember when I got back from college and the high school, two asked me to come back and coach the debate team, because I've been on the debate team through college and high school. And I'm going in there and I'm pleading with the principal to find enough money to get some note cards for the debate team for evidence things. And I think the total thing was like, I don't know, $350 or something total. And, you know, this is a, you know, 800 student public school, and we just don't have $350.
Regular.
Yeah.
And so got to take it from a data perspective,
Yeah.
right? And so,
Yeah.
just, you know, we were actually just talking about the direct
Right.
correlation just at lunch
When you
today.
held up the powdered sugar donuts that are part of the
Yeah.
USDA approved meals in 1983 or 4, when I was in the 5th grade, that's what, when we had the 2 rats, one was fed healthy food, one was fed junk food. Powdered sugar donuts was part of the daily ration for the junk food rat. Now it's made its way into its
Daily
approved
school.
school breakfast.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll never forget, when I was in high school in the early 70s, a guy did a science fair project where he did a rat study, and he took a box of Wheaties and fed that to rats, and then he took the individual ingredients and fed that to rats. Whereas he bought the individual ingredients that were in the Wheaties
Okay.
and the Wheaties, and the rats that got the Wheaties got sick and poor, and the rats that got the initial ingredients that were listed on the box thrived and were great.
Because they only ate
I'll
the
never
parts that were
forget that.
healthy, or?
Well, no, because the processing into the
Oh,
Wheaties
okay.
so apes and changes the raw material.
Well, in the
that-
70s, Wheaties probably only had 5 ingredients anyway, right? Because now the label's
Yeah.
this long.
The teacher's aide was in, you know, and finally he said, well, maybe we could get it out of instructional supplies, because we just spent $25,000 last week to get football helmets and instructional supplies. And I thought, oh my goodness. Football helmets and instructional supplies, and you can't give me $350 for,
Did you get your note cards?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I got them. but I've never forgotten it. It's just such an instructional supply.
Joel, you said you were willing to share these numbers. Would you be willing to, like, I don't know, put this into some kind of where I could give it back to the board and they could have it,
Sure.
so we could actually talk about it?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
could actually sit down.
Sure.
They like to think about things, and I like it that they do that. Just even look at, this is what he said. This is the numbers we talked about at lunch, just to kind of fill everybody in. I don't know
Right.
if that's something you're interested in.
Yeah, no, I think we should have follow-up, I mean, I think that's,
Regardless, it's good to always just know what exactly was talked about. So
Yeah.
that would
Yeah.
be very
And
helpful.
as far as process, I mean, legal, beef and pork, would go to a local slaughterhouse and come back USDA, I mean,
The one at home, I know.
and yeah, I mean, you could get it back in packages, it would be completely legal, to do. The, chicken, of course, I'm a big believer in home processing and doing it right there, and I think Kansas does allow, 20,000 chickens a year uninspected for a producer grower. You could be a producer grower. And, so you can't sell them, but they can go to the HRI trade, which is hotel, restaurants, institutions, schools, institutions. We've certainly sold uninspected chickens in Virginia, we're a 20,000 bird state as well. 20,000 birds, the federal exemption, about 28 states have just adopted it into their state, code, and 22 states are more restrictive than, I think Kansas is 20,000 bird. Nebraska is more restrictive, Nebraska, I think, is 10. But still, I
How
mean,
does that fit into our final number? of
yeah,
what we
so your
need for
final number
2021?
was only, 6375.
Okay.
So 6,500 birds, I'm 95% sure that would be legal in Kansas to actually process them on the school site, talk about biology, here's the liver, here's the kidney.
well, what's
I mean,
the,
I even
what's the
had,
turnover on it? Like, how often do you, I mean, we let our chickens die of old age because I can't kill them.
I do it twice a year,
Yeah,
but
twice.
that's me on my little tiny homestead of me and my
Well,
husband.
I figured up, 4 cycles, and they're outside about 5 weeks. So that would be 20 weeks at 4 cycles. It's 6 month on, 6 month off. So it goes through pretty rapidly.
And there is a product, minimum of 100 birds. Fortunately, they're on this side of the state, they're on the south of us, but I know people that take birds there, so if it was more than,
If we
you
didn't want
wanna
to do
deal
it, or
with
we
right
found it
now.
to be complicated according to curriculum.
Yeah, I think in general, your hurdles are not logistic, they're psychological.
They always are. That's something we're talking, second change order problems, and people changing is hard.
Yeah.
If it's
Yeah.
logistics, we can logistically figure out anything.
Mm-hmm.
We do, we're a small school, we're all these hats, and we
Yeah.
just work, but it's
Yeah.
people philosophically come along. That's,
Because initially, it's gonna be, just the manpower and somebody who's gonna be supportive and want to make it successful and sees it as a benefit to our school and getting the right people who feel that way. I mean,
this is how we start though. I hate to rush this along, we gotta get these kids back, I'm gonna go to the softball, I'm a mad guy.
Yeah.
Could we play the chickens
Yeah.
band instruments? Because then I could be an active role in that as well.
This is awesome.
Serenade
Carry this on.
The squeaky chicken.
them. Thank you, Joel, very much.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Well, so I hope you enjoyed this. I thought Joel went good and in depth. I also thought that the administrators, the board members, all of those were engaged in the conversation, and I'm really looking forward to what comes next. I thought I would summarize some of the numbers for you guys. If you guys remember, his assumption in this video was 1,500 meals per day for 5 days per week, 750 for breakfast and 750 for lunch. That's 34 weeks per year, total of 170 days. All servings figured at a quarter pound. From an eggs perspective, that's 540 eggs per day in production during summer, freeze dry, sell, etc. Winter accommodations would be a 30-foot by 120-foot hoop house, which we can actually, believe it or not, get right here at Stuppy's in Kansas City. Laying hens, they're going to eat all of the kitchen scraps, and in the spring, summer, and fall, the hoop house will grow vegetables. The broilers, we need 6,375 total birds, averaging 4.5 pounds carcass weight and 3 pounds edible meat. Serving chicken 3 times per week, that's 24 total 10-foot by 12-foot shelters. We need 8 total batches of 800 chickens raised over the course of a 6-month growing season. The brooder requirements would be a 12-foot by 20, and the pasture requirements is 11 acres. For beef, we need 12,750 pounds of ground beef to yield 300 pounds per carcass. Procure cull cows and keep them for 4 months to detox and fatten on grass. The 4 months of the winter, no cows, so there's no hay bill, and no winter feeding. We're going to serve beef 2 meals per week. Pasture requirement, 30 acres. From a pork requirement, we need 31,875 pounds of bacon and sausage. We're going to procure the weaned piglets, 8 to 10 weeks old, which is 150 pounds of edible yield per carcass. We'll run 2 cycles per year, 6 months per cycle of 106, total of 212. We'll need to acquire 1 additional hoop house of 30 by 120 feet for housing on the deep bedding. In growing potatoes, we need 31,875 pounds. That will yield 3 pounds per plant. We'll plant on 12-inch centers or 1 square foot per plant. The land required is a 1/4 acre. Tomatoes will grow 31,875 pounds. The yield of the average tomato plant is 6 pounds. Plants on 2-foot centers, the land required is a 1/4 acre. We'll also grow some apples, 31,875 pounds of apples, which will yield 10 bushels per tree. We're going to plant on 400 square foot centers. And the land required is 2/3 of an acre. Trees can be planted along the road, field, and boundary edges. We're going to need 1 full-time person that could easily do all of this work with help during the slaughter and the harvest. On a daily production maintenance basis, 1 person could easily keep everything running. Joel went on to say that he hopes that this gives a sense of actually what's possible. And I think this goes to a whole nother side too, which is we turn this process into curriculum, right? We get to turn it into science. We get to turn it into math. We get to turn it into business and entrepreneurship. I think this can really grow into a place that not only do the kids get credit for their effort, but we also get to help make our kids healthy. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll continue to put these Joel videos out as I get through the hours of footage. But until next time, hang tough and let's go make a difference. See you, everybody.